Hi, I'm James. Welcome to Slaying Sober, where we tell stories of addiction, recovery, and hope. Wherever you are on your sober journey, know that you do not stand alone. For many of us, drinking began just on the weekends until it crept into the week and it slowly became a crutch. This story starts there. Today, I'm sitting down with Dale, a husband, a dad, a musician, a powerlifter, and a bloke who went from casual drinking to complete dependence before finding his way back. We talk about what it's like to hide empties, drink alone, and to live with that quiet shame. We hear of the moment he finally said, "I think I have a problem," and the beautiful reason why he wanted to change. This episode is about what happens after, about journaling, getting honest, and setting boundaries. And the pride he has in his kids never seeing their dad with a drink in his hand. We touch on masculinity, on what it means for men to actually cry, to feel, to talk, and about how tattoos, mantras, and strength training become part of Dale's new identity. This one is raw and relatable, and it's full of hope. Because sobriety didn't make Dale's life smaller, it gave him back everything worth holding on to. Let's get into Dale's story. Hey Dale, welcome to Slaying Sober. Thanks a heap for joining me, mate.
Thanks, James. Sorry about the little technical difficulties, but we'll try again.
The world of technology, hey? I was just about to ask you what you do for joy and what do you do for fun?
Well, I would say the main thing that brings me joy, obviously, I got a family. That's just being their dad, being my children's dad, and being my wife's husband. That's absolutely brings me the most joy in my life. But outside of that, it would be going to the gym and just dedicating myself to that. What some people, I suppose, would call monotony of it actually brings me a lot of peace.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I've been a musician for probably 25 years, so playing guitar and just diddling away on that when the kids will allow. So
good, man. And your gym stuff, you're a lifter, I believe?
Yeah, I've powerlifting. The last 6 months I've sort of stepped back a little bit from the really specific strength training, but I've still been training every week because without that I tend to go a little bit loopy. Maybe loopy is the wrong word, but I need it for myself for sure.
For your mental health, not just your physical strength?
Absolutely, yeah. If I find that I'm not pushing hard physically, then mentally I do start to decline a little bit.
Yeah, yep. It's interesting how that balance works.
Yeah. When I quit drinking in July of 2019, I ate a lot of my feelings and I got up to be very overweight. And getting back into fitness and strength training, I managed to sort of bring it back into a somewhat healthier weight range. Yeah,
that's not unusual, man. I put on quite a bit of weight when I gave up the booze as well, and I could probably justify it a little bit with it's a healthier bad habit to have.
That's true. My reward every Sunday during my early recovery is I would treat myself every Sunday night to a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Yeah. And I did that literally for 6 straight months.
Yeah. Well, it's the right type of pint to pick up, mate, if you've got a problem with alcohol addiction.
Oh yeah.
Good man. So tell me about your childhood and where you grew up and what you got up to.
So I grew up in just suburbia, mate, Carrum Downs.
Yep.
I had a honestly a great childhood. I lived in a court, so it's pretty safe, pretty peaceful. This I was born in 1990, so I grew up in the
Yeah.
90s. My parents were unbelievable, honestly.
Mm.
They couldn't have been better. They fought between themselves
Yep.
somewhat, but and 90s kids we were yelled at, but it wasn't like I have an older brother. But yeah, I certainly didn't have a bad childhood at all. We were well taken care of. We weren't well off, but I was certainly provided for. The dinner was on the table at 6 p.m. every night, and
You had
yeah,
a happy childhood.
I had a happy childhood. Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. When did alcohol first play a part in your life?
As I remember, my dad drank at the footy. We would go to the footy a fair bit,
Oh yeah.
and I remember dad drinking there, but not. That was the only time he drank. But for me personally, I was I was what I thought was late. I remember saying as a youngster, like, "Oh, I don't need to drink to have fun." And then I remember, yeah, maybe getting a six pack of UDLs for a house party, and I was off to the races from that point, basically.
Yeah, no, I sort of feel like that's a very Australian culture thing of teenage drinking, picking up, all of those sorts of things. It's like a rite to passage.
Yeah, it's uh, part of the musician in me is I'm a songwriter as well, and I remember writing a song one year when I was 1 year sober, and I said I used to love you on the weekend until I loved you every day, and that's how it felt.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. Like I remember a long time just drinking at parties. And then
Mm.
it just became, well, I have a leftover. I've got 6 beers left over in the fridge. There's 5 days during the week there that I can be also having
Yes.
those beers, and it just turned into a bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did it progress for you?
Uh, I had moved out of home at the age of 23 with my girlfriend, who is now my wife,
Hmm.
and I had a lot more time. What felt like I had a lot more time.
Yeah.
At the time, she was uh, a chef and working in the evenings.
Hmm.
So, every Friday night, every Saturday night, and she would get home at like 11 o'clock or something. And I didn't have enough money to go out a lot. So I would just stay home and I would fill an esky and I
Hmm.
would just get on YouTube, like the musician in me. I would just watch YouTube videos of musicians and live concerts, and I would just drink by myself. And then once I started drinking more by myself, uh, I think I developed a bit of shame around it, and
Yeah. Okay.
and it kept it because before I was not ashamed
Mm.
of drinking because all my friends were heavy drinkers and smokers, and oftentimes taking other substances.
Yes.
But it was really once I moved out of home at 23 that things got a bit heavier for sure.
Mm. So your
And
drinking was pretty isolated when you were drinking?
yeah, it was especially towards the end. How old was I when I quit? I was 28. So that 5 year period between 23 and 28, it got worse and worse and more isolating. Where I was getting invited to places and just choosing to not go so I could drink at home
Yeah.
where I was just more comfortable. And I remember buying multiple tickets to like concerts and
Mm.
just on the day of just deciding to not go
Yeah.
because the beer was cheaper at home,
Mm.
that kind of thing. So yeah, I was choosing alcohol over a lot of things.
So what did alcohol do for you? How did it make you feel?
Oh, initially, uh, I suppose relaxed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had some underlying thing where maybe I was high strung, or but I had a lot of aggression. I didn't act on a lot of it, but growing up I was aggressive and angry a lot. I don't know why, but um, alcohol worked uh, to sort of curb that. Well, I know it goes
Yeah,
the other way for a lot of people, but for me, it switched it off,
yeah, I can
and I
relate
could
to that.
calm. I could calm down with alcohol,
Mm.
and how did it make? I don't know. It made me relaxed, and it made me happy until it got definitely the last year of my drinking. Alcohol began to make me sad,
Yeah.
but at that point I didn't know how to stop or how to sort of go without it. And you're so surrounded by it everywhere. Um, it just felt really difficult to get out of it.
Are you a people pleaser?
Then I was as a
Mm.
youngster, yeah, not so much anymore. And maybe it's the last couple of years I've been working. This is maybe a little off subject, but I've
Yep.
been working for a boss who I really disliked.
Mm.
And in previous times when like a senior figure or anyone would give me instruction or whatever, I would always do my best to please them and do it right. But I built a lot of confidence in just saying no
Mm.
recently, and just saying
Setting
no, like this
boundaries.
is, yeah, that's the word. That's the word. Boundaries.
Mm.
I had to do it because otherwise you could feel it boiling,
Yeah.
and I said no, if I let it sort of boil over, it's going to be trouble. So I really had to start cutting it off at a simmer, and saying this is enough.
What do you think it was about that relationship that challenged you?
Great question. I mean, I don't want to go bad mouthing him a lot, but
Yeah.
he um he was very privileged, grew up
Mm-hmm.
wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
on a beautiful property, and but he just would always claim how hard he had it.
Yeah.
He was very much like, yeah, he thought he had it really tough, and I think that
Mm.
annoyed me a lot because I thought to myself, you don't even know what tough is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that affected me a lot, and also just he was a bad leader of his team,
Mm.
and yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like seeing my friends, my colleagues, be disrespected,
Yes.
and maybe it's the white knight figure, but I felt it was my duty to sort of stand up to that somewhat.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's honourable to
Yeah,
do so. I can relate to some of that sort of stuff. Sort of when I grew up and I was in my teens, I went to a private school. Like I'm a Frankston boy, but went to a private school, and I always felt out of place that I was, amongst immense privilege, yet, my parents are 10-pound Brits and made it their own way. Um,
yeah,
and I've got a really fortunate life now, but I've never asked for anything. I've never put my hand out. I've worked my ass off to do it myself.
yeah,
Um, and I think that the addict in us sometimes our brilliance can be, ambition, hard work. Like we do things well, including our drinking.
yeah. It's like, yeah, you can get good at anything, and even if it's something that's not beneficial.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
tell us about your drinking at its worst.
at its worst, I would say we had moved in with my wife's parents to save money for our own house, and at that point, I didn't have rent to pay. It's a beautiful big property,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time, I was really into cooking barbecue, and I would, if anyone's unaware, cooking a brisket can take 12, 16 hours if you do it right. So I would wake up super early, get the barbecues going, and I would just watch the clock until it got to about 10 a.m. And
Yeah.
as soon as it hit 10 a.m., I would start drinking, and I would just not stop until I went to bed.
Mm.
Oftentimes serving up meals for the family and having no recollection of how they tasted after spending 14 hours
Yeah.
cooking it, and and not even being able to taste it really, and just being so bloated from drinking 15, 20 beers that I didn't even really want to eat it.
Yeah.
um so it was bad there. I drank every weekend without fail.
Mm.
I kept it pretty under wraps during the week. I would have two or three, and that was always the case. I was never like getting really drunk during the week.
Yeah.
But the when my wife and I bought our house, it was in maybe April, and that's that's probably, yeah. Well, I mean, I quit drinking in the July of that year, so not long after that. So I was just, this is my house. I can do whatever I want,
Yeah. It's
and
like that
I
ownership.
didn't have to hide from my wife's parents anymore. Yeah,
Mm.
her father is a police officer. He has been for over 40 years, and he's
Mm.
a great guy. Her parents are great, but I was sneaky there. I was trying to hide things, and then once I had
Tell tell me
my own
about that.
house,
How did that look? Hiding your
oh
drinking.
oh, they knew I drank, and her father is a big red wine guy. He has a real big collection. He drinks red wine
Mm.
every night, but I've never seen him drunk in,
Yeah.
you know, the whole time I've been with my wife, which is 13 years or something.
Mm. He's different
He's
from
like
us.
he's a one or two glass of wine guy, and
Mm-hmm.
um, he likes the aspect of sort of collecting and tasting it, whereas yeah, that didn't sort of work for me. But yeah, I remember having like in our sort of living room, we had our own living room, I suppose, and I would hide empty cans in there so as to
Mm.
not fill up like the family bin. Um,
Yep.
and then I would remove them myself. Or one thing that I know I did, and I'm sure a lot of people do, is you would go to the rubbish bin and you would lift up a box and you would put your empties underneath the box,
Yeah. Yeah. Know it well.
so that when they open the bin they don't see it. So there was a lot of that, and I mean, I have dabbled in in drugs, only ever as a means to be able to drink more.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, when you're at a house of a police officer,
Mm.
you're really playing with fire at that point. And I knew, we all know, I knew I was doing horrendous things in his eyes. That what I was doing would have been terrible.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so trying to hide a lot of that. Yeah, it wasn't easy.
Mm.
It was a big house, but there's only so much you can hide.
Mm. And there's a lot
Mm.
of shame and guilt around that as well.
Yeah, especially now. At the time, uh, I was hiding, but I I don't know if I felt too much shame.
Mm.
I just didn't want to get caught. But now looking back, yeah, horrific shame about about sort of, especially how I maybe disrespected her parents. Like they were letting us live there and rent free, and I didn't. I just got drunk every weekend. I could have been out mowing their lawn or doing the garden or anything, and I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And did
So
you ever get questioned by them or your wife about your behavior?
they never mentioned it. My wife would occasionally pepper things in. I remember one time eating at the dinner table, and it was after a really big day of drinking, and my nieces and nephews were there as well. And I remember swearing really loudly,
Mm.
which is something that I wouldn't have done sober. And I just remember my wife like putting a hand on my knee and being like, that's enough. And I
Yeah.
it's just that one really stuck with me. There were multiple times um where I had a bad hangover and said like, all right, I'm gonna have a break. I'm gonna have 2 weeks off, or I'm gonna do sober October and that kind of thing. And I remember every time my wife being thrilled about it
Yeah.
and being really supportive. The very first time I ever said the words "I have a problem" was a long time before I officially quit. And
Mm.
I remember laying in bed on a Sunday night. I'd had 12 Canadian clubs, and I got really sad, and I was crying, and I was in bed, and I messaged my wife who was out on the couch, and I said, "Can you come in?" And I remember saying, "I think I have a problem," and she said, "I've been worried for a while,"
Wow.
and that hurts to hear, but I can't imagine how much more it hurt her that I continued to drink for more years.
Yes. Yeah. Are you happy to say your
So
wife's name?
yeah, her name's Bridget, and
Bridget. Yep.
yeah, Bridget, and she is like, if I talk too much about her, that's when I'll lose it. She is by far and away the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life, and I, I fully believe I would be dead if it wasn't for her.
Yeah. Amazing. We'll
Yeah,
come back to Bridget, I promise. But
yeah.
tell us why you've obviously had this emotional breakthrough. You've admitted you had a problem. And what was the straw that broke the camel's back? How did you quit entirely?
We had uh, conceived and were a few months, maybe 4 months into the pregnancy of our first child.
Yes.
And it took a long time to, not a long time, but it took over a year to conceive, I think it was. And I was in bad shape. I was overweight. I was not training at all, drinking heavily. And I had been out to my brother's house for a party and was lying to my wife at the time about the time I was going to get home. I knew I was going to be out until early
Yeah.
hours. I told her I'd be home at 12 o'clock. She messaged me, I'm going to sleep. As soon as she says I'm going to sleep, I know I'm free. I can
Yes.
I can stay up as late as I want at that point. So I'd had a big night then, and then exactly a week later, I went to my cousin's wedding, surrounded by family, and I took full advantage of the open bar.
Mm.
And
As we do.
at the wedding, I ended up crying from sadness, and I didn't quite know why. I had a cousin there who I'd had a bit of a falling out with, and I just I just really lost control of my emotions that night.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, that was the middle of July, and I said to my wife I said, I'm gonna not drink until the end of the month. So that would have been 2 weeks. And she said, great decision. And then 2 days later, it's probably so that would have been a Sunday morning. I think it was even on the Monday. I messaged Bridget and I said, I'm not going to put an end date on this.
Mm.
I have had 2 weeks off so many times.
Yeah.
I did sober October. I've had breaks before, but I said, I'm not going to put an end date here. Let's just see if I make it 3 weeks.
Mm.
So that was on the Monday. And by the Wednesday, I had, I had decided I am an alcoholic and I am trying to quit drinking.
Wow. That's pretty
Yeah.
prolific.
Yeah. And it was honestly such a relief.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I told Bridget, babe, I think, because I wasn't sure, I wasn't certain, but in that first week I said, babe, I think I need to stop.
Mm.
And she said, I'm here for it. Like, if you're doing it, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And it was such a relief to be supported. Um, yeah, that it was actually a really beautiful a beautiful first week because it was very freeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
To put a label on your habits and behavior.
Yeah. I mean, I knew I was an alcoholic, but I had never said it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
And to say
I
it,
used to go to
yeah.
AA meetings, and for a long time I'd get up there and say, "I'm James. I drink too much," because I had a real
Yeah.
problem with labeling myself. But once you do identify that way, it is a like a chip off the shoulder, isn't it? You do feel very free.
Yeah, I feel like I lost weight immediately. Like
Mm.
it felt really, really big. And I committed to the process uh, early. I've never been to an AA meeting. I've never done any form of like official program.
No, you did it
But
yourself.
within, yeah, I have nothing against the programs. It's just never been something that I've done.
Hmm.
I remember 6 weeks in, I had come up with like a. There's a comedian who at the time was also in recovery, and he would say the word onward a lot. And
Yep.
I remember really liking that. He'd have a revelation. He'd say onward, and
Yeah.
I decided that I was going to take that for myself. And
Mm.
6 weeks into my sobriety, I got the word onward tattooed on me, which
Yeah.
in hindsight, that's maybe a little early to be, inking something
Yeah.
on your skin. But I remember saying to Bridget, I said, "This is my reminder that I want this,
Yeah.
and even if I fail and I relapse, that's on my skin to remind me that I want to be sober, even if I'm not.
Mm.
It is what I want."
Yeah. It's a great
Yeah,
mantra to live by.
yeah. And then I ended up really falling in love with the words, "You get what you earn." That became
Yes.
more so with my weight loss. I just realized that I'm doing the work and I'm earning the results of my recovery, of my weight loss. I don't
Yeah.
deserve anything. Nobody. I don't deserve anything from anyone, but I'm gonna earn the things that I get.
Yeah. You sound very spiritually and emotionally aware.
I think so. Yeah, yeah. I think I am. I don't have a higher power, but I believe in like energy, and I believe in the things that we do. They affect more than what we see. So yeah, I try to live my life. Uh, I live it for myself and for my family, but I'm aware that the things that I do have ripple effects.
Yeah.
And as far as the emotional side, I've always been emotional. I've cried probably every 8 days forever,
Yeah. Yep.
and I have no shame in that at all. I think
Hmm.
crying is a beautiful thing.
When was the
It
last
feels
time you
like
cried?
ah. So my daughter. Oh, which one was it? It was either my daughter or my son doing something really sweet. My
Mm.
daughter had she asked for a balloon, and I blew it up for her, and then she walked off into the living room, and I was in the kitchen, and she came back 5 minutes later, and she's just about to turn 6 years old, and she had written all over the balloon, "Dear Daddy, you're the best daddy in the world. I wanted to give you this balloon. I love you." She'd drawn a picture of us. I was a wreck, man.
Yeah, I
And
love this.
and then my son, um, he's 3.5, and he just for the first time had said, "You're the best dad."
Yeah.
Like he said, "I love you" a lot, but he said, you're the best dad," and I just, yeah, that was a good one too.
Oh, I
But
love
before,
this.
but if I'm thinking about more so uh, directly recovery related, on my birthday in November, driving to work. I had spent the morning with the family, had breakfast with them, and I reckon I hadn't even got to the end of the driveway when I left, and I was just crying, and I cried probably the whole way to work. I put on my song, which is the song that I do it on purpose. I know it's gonna get me there, and I
Yeah.
just let it out, and I was just so proud of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so good, man. I love blokes talking about crying, It's just awesome.
yeah, and I'm a big guy. People probably look at me and they make some assumptions based on my appearance, but yeah, I'm fully invested in showing your emotions.
yeah. So you talk about
Yeah.
your kids there and the emotions surrounding that. They seem like your why you gave up and why you changed.
Yeah, yeah. So I knew I had a problem. I knew I didn't know how to fix it. Um, and I do get sad that just uh, being a better husband wasn't a good enough reason for
Yeah.
me. I
Hmm.
wish that I wish that was the reason that I quit. But yeah, 4 months into the pregnancy with our daughter, I just realized I can't be this person and be her dad,
Yes.
because I was struggling to, I was overweight as well, but like she's gonna want me to be on the ground with her. She's like, I'm gonna need to be on the ground, and it's hard for me to just like get down and get up. And
Mm.
what if there's an emergency and I'm drunk
Yes.
and I
Mm.
can't drive to the hospital, or what if she didn't choose to be born, and we chose as a duo to bring her into the world, and it's not fair that on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning that I'm hungover and I couldn't imagine that, like, her running into the room and me wishing she wasn't there just
Yeah.
because of being hungover, or like I would stay up late drinking. What babies wake up all the time. You got to go in
Mm.
there and you got to settle them. And what if I dropped her, or what if I stumbled, or it
Yeah.
just and because I don't know how to moderate, I said, oh, I can't just drop back to having a few beers. I've never wanted a few beers in my life.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I only ever want the next one. So I just I have to stop, or else
Mm.
she won't have the childhood that she deserves.
That's a bloody good reason, my friend.
I think it's a good a reason as any. And I will say, a little side tangent, it took a long time to conceive her, or what we considered a long time. I know there's a lot of people out there who take many years to conceive, and I really feel for those people. Um,
Yes.
after after being sober for quite a while, and I'd lost a lot of weight, and I was in really, really great shape, my wife
Mm.
and I decided we're going to try for child number two.
Yep.
And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but it was first go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you kept
Yeah.
practicing anyway.
Oh yeah, you gotta get the practice in.
Got to make sure of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So
Good.
I think there's something to the fact of just being in better shape, in a better mental state.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think it all aligns, and it just made the process. Yeah, it just happened like that. Whereas it took a long time before.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Like both your physical and mental well-being are better, and your swimmers are going to be in better form.
Yeah, perhaps.
Tell me about what you do now to help you stay well and to stay sober.
Okay. for the first year of my sobriety, I journaled nearly every day. If it wasn't every day, it was every week. Which was really hard. I remember the first page. I was like, I don't expect this to be easy. I even wrote that down.
Yeah.
But I needed a way to sort of document my feelings, and just have it written down. And then it was also nice to go back and see where I was at that point. 3 months in,
Yeah.
how was I feeling? 6 months in, what was it like? So that
So how did that
journaling
look
helped
like?
me a
How did
lot.
that journaling look?
So I would just wake up early and just write before I went to work.
Yeah.
It was just a page or a page and a half.
Pen to paper and see what came up.
Yeah, literally sometimes it was
Mm.
just, I just wrote down what I did for the day, or wrote down what I was going to do tomorrow. And
Yep.
then other times I'm pouring my heart out on a page, and
Yeah.
I'm deep in it. But it was just beneficial just to have that repetition, of, I'm going to write down something today, and maybe it's a revelation and maybe it's not. So
Yeah.
early on, the journaling helped. Talking about it was by far and away the best thing I ever did.
With who?
Talking to my wife, or everyone. I initially my wife,
Yep.
and then everyone. I became proud of my, not alcoholism, but proud that I was fighting it, and
Yeah.
happy to tell people. And I'd be at parties, um, with people who were drinking, and then they ask questions, and I never tried to shame them or anything, but I would just say, mate, my life is just better.
Yeah.
Like I am a better guy now than I was before, and
Mm.
I don't think alcohol is necessarily the devil. A lot of people out there have one or two drinks and they're fine. So I just said I shared a lot. I remember, yeah, I think I told you, I used to have an Instagram page, and I shared nearly daily. I would just say something about my
Mm.
recovery, either in the stories or on the main feed.
Yeah.
Um, I was big on like just trying to help other people. The more I helped
Mm.
other people just by sharing or just maybe giving a little bit of an insight, the amount of people who would reply to me and just either give me a bit of support or even just say that they were starting to notice some things in their own behavior, or
Yeah.
um, they'd realized that they'd been hitting it a bit hard perhaps, or I,
Yeah.
it was so great. And it, like, egotistically, it really feels, it's a nice boost when you share a part of yourself and then that like helps other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also in doing that, I built relationships that I didn't have before. Like, when I wanted to get back into strength training, um, you know, however long it was into my recovery, I remember asking a friend of mine who was a strength coach. I'm like, oh, can we start working together? What's it going to cost? And he said, I'm not going to charge you. He said, I want to help
Mm.
you because you help other people. And
Yeah.
beautiful.
Wow.
And then a year or so, or a year and a half, maybe it was a couple of years into my recovery, we got a dog. The dog was
Mm.
a rescue dog. It needed a lot of help. It needed training. I didn't have the capabilities. So I reached out to a dog trainer, and I went and visited him, and I said, all right, mate, I've got a bunch of cash here. And he just said, I don't want it. He said, I'm just going to help
Wow.
you. I'm going to help you because you help other people. I think you're a great guy. And I find that the more I do for other people, the more that it sort of gets given back. So in a way, I guess I'm uh, selfishly a good person sometimes, because it's nice to get the little bit of give back for sure.
Yeah. 100%. And that comes back to like that conversation we were having before about spirituality and, like perhaps in religion, if you do good to others, others do good to you. It's just a basic concept of a great way of living life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think kindness is kindness is king. You know,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why I felt uh, so unhappy at my last workplace with that boss, because above all, he just wasn't very kind, and
Yep.
I don't need to be around people like that. I separate
Yeah.
myself now a lot. If like you said, with setting boundaries earlier, I just don't hang out with the people who I used to, um, just because of some of their attitudes. It's not always because they're unkind, but it's just maybe there's no ambition. I want to
Yeah.
be friends with people who are trying something, you know,
Mm.
whether it's they're trying to live a healthier life, or they're trying to get up in work, or whatever it is. I want to be surrounded by people with energy, not people who are just
Yeah.
stuck in the mud.
Yeah. There's plenty of fuckwits
Excuse me.
out there, right? And
Yeah.
you can quite simply just remove yourself from being surrounded by them as best as you can. It's not
Yeah.
always possible, but hang around with people that fill up your cup and that champion you and support you, and you do the same to others, and life becomes a lot more manageable and a lot more fun.
Yeah. And you can see it if you are vocal and open about your recovery. Well, for me anyway, when
Yeah.
I share things about it, or if I have a milestone, occasionally I'll post a screenshot of my day count,
Yeah.
or something, and it's the people in the replies who are doing this emoji, or they're just giving you the thumbs up, or they just comment, "Good job, bro." Like, they're the they're the people, and you might not even be too close to those people. They're just, there's people from like 2 years ago I haven't spoken to in person in 2 years, but every time I share my day count, without fail,
Mm.
they're liking it, or they're saying something. And yeah, that they're the people that matter more than
Mm.
more than someone who, like, I got guys who I grew up with, drank with for 10 years, who I don't talk to at all anymore. And it's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
because they're bad people, not because they're not because their drinking affects me. It's just I don't live their life anymore. And
No.
so I will almost consider them, they're still my friend. And if I run into them, obviously we're going to have a chat and a catch up. But the people who are
Well,
in there supporting me day to day, they mean more to me than those people now.
I think as well, like sharing your story, like particularly with social media or whatever, those people that give you the thumbs up or the clap emoji or whatever, they might not be an alcoholic, but so many people have been touched by addiction.
Yeah.
Um, so I think by sharing our story and being vulnerable, it can either inspire people or it gives people hope, you know? And people know what we've gone through and how fucking hard it can be as well to give up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose because I shared a lot early on, I would share if I was having a particularly bad day or a bad week.
Mm,
And then when I'm up, people remember, oh, 2 weeks ago he was struggling, but he made it
yeah.
through, and and now he's killing it. Let's give him a bit of this, and it's not much, but God, it feels good to just get a little like, or a little great job. That
Mm,
stuff goes a long way.
yeah, it really does. It's positive reinforcement, isn't it?
Yeah. So dog training, positive reinforcement.
So when did you know that you were never going to drink again?
I still don't, and it's not
Yeah.
it's not it's not that I want to, but I would never say I will never drink again. I will say I hope I never do,
Mm, that's a beautiful way
because
of putting
I
it.
I have a I have a sickness.
Mm,
I'm not I am in control right now. And I hope
yes.
that I hope that I stay in control. And
Mm.
if I keep doing all the things that I'm doing, it's highly likely that I will stay in control.
Yes.
I don't have any reason. I can't see a reason for me to want to turn back. I've never woken up on a Sunday and wished I had a hangover. Um, and I just think to myself, I couldn't imagine being hungover and also dealing with being like sick. So yeah, I'm not. I would never say that I won't drink again, but I hope it never
Yes.
happens for sure. Yeah.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. And what you
Mm.
described about when you've cried there, when your children have either spoken so beautifully with you, you're the best dad in the world, or putting it in writing on a balloon, do those things happen if you're still in active addiction at the weekend? The,
I don't even know if I'm there,
yeah,
to be honest. I
yeah,
don't even know if I'm
mm,
like, worst case, I don't know if I'm alive. Best case, I'm not present
yeah.
emotionally to
Uh,
experience it, you know?
yeah, you don't notice it, and you certainly don't find yourself tearing up about it because your emotional state doesn't have the ability to feel that.
Yeah, it's deadened, I suppose.
Mm,
Yeah, unless well, it was deadened unless I was getting sad, I guess. But yeah, I can't imagine that I would be able to even receive compliments and feel them the same way, if I still hated myself like that.
that's where I was. My active addiction didn't cease until my children were, 8 and 10. So I've got a lot of shame and guilt about that. Um, but now I cry all the time when they do beautiful things,
Yeah.
and they get such a better version of me. And that's one of the true gifts that you've given to your family, Dale, that your children know a sober, clean version of dad. And how beautiful is that?
It's the proudest achievement of my life.
Mm,
My children have never seen me with a drink in my hand. That I remember writing this down in a journal. I had been to a party early on. I think I was actually still drinking at the time. Maybe we didn't have kids, and this is why I remember it, because a guy who was there, his daughter was uppies, uppies, I want to dance, and he had a drink in one hand, and he was just doing a terrible job of picking
yeah,
her up and dancing. And I remember writing down later on in my recovery that my daughter had never seen a drink in my hand. I'd never had to put a drink down to pick her up. I've never been
yes.
I've never been worried about falling over. I've never
Mm,
I've never been too hungover to get up and change a nappy, or to, my wife's been up all night for whatever reason, feeding and stuff, and then it's my turn at 5 a.m. and I've never been too hungover for that to happen. And it's just, yeah, I'm so proud. I'm so proud that they have never smelled alcohol on my breath.
mm,
When they get up close, Daddy, I want to cuddle, and we're on the couch, they never say, Dad, you stink, or uh,
yeah.
you know, that stuff is it sounds small, but God, it is. That's the big stuff, really, to me. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And your wife, Bridget, who sounds like a real hero in your story, she
Oh
must be
yeah,
so proud of the version you are now.
yeah, yeah. She is. She is. Uh, I've always said she's the light in my life, even in
Mm,
my sort of darkest times. She was the thing that would always sort of get me out. She came from, when we met, she was unwell. She had been through some. I don't want to get too personal, but she'd been through some stuff of her own.
Yes.
And she says that early on I was helping her a lot, and I didn't suppose know that I was. We were both drinking a lot still. But yeah, these days she's so proud of me, and she's not afraid to tell me that. Every anniversary I have, like sober anniversary, she generally makes a little Instagram video, and it's videos of me and the kids, or just me being happy, and like they're just the sweetest gift to sort of receive, for her to like spend the time to put together the little thing. I'm proud of you, and I'm going to make this little thing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's very special. She's a great mother, an unbelievable mother. She's a terrific wife, and just a great person. And I'm so lucky to have her. December, I think we figured out, was about 14 years that we had been together. We met
Wow.
the old school way at the pub. And in 14 years, the longest we've ever been apart is 3 days.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes. So
And you've done a
she
lot of
is,
growing and growth together.
yeah, yeah, definitely. We're great at communicating, and I don't think I always was that way.
Yeah.
But certainly the recovery has helped me get better at that. And if I have a problem or a bad day, or I'm going through something emotionally, I tell her as soon as I have the courage to do so, because
Yes.
then at least then she understands, and maybe she's not stoked about it that I'm in a grump, or I'm refusing to do whatever, or I just need to go lay down for a bit. Like, it's hard when you're a parent, and uh, the weight of taking care of both kids is put on one person. But
It's a lot.
sometimes both of us just need our own time, where I'm
Yeah.
going through some stuff, babe. Like, I just need to go lay down and get it out of my head. And she's always been so great for that. And I love her to bits, man. She's the light of my life.
That's so beautiful to hear. And I think that that's a really great way to wind up today's conversation.
No, I couldn't think of a better way myself, actually.
It's really lovely to hear. I wish you all the best, and thanks so much for joining us today on Slaying Sober. I've loved your story.
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me. This has been really good. I've enjoyed this.
Thanks for joining us today on Slaying Sober. If you're sober curious, in addiction, or know someone who could benefit from listening, please share this episode with them. Jump over to Instagram and say g'day at Slaying Sober Pod, and follow us on Spotify to hear the latest episodes come out. Until then, keep slaying sober.